This is the Zesty podcast. I'm your host, Malik Anderson, aka Taka. Today's conversation is a little different. It's a look behind the mic at how this show came to be, why we made it, and what Zesty really means to us. I'm joined by the show's very own producer, Rose Boubion, and together we're reflecting on the creation of the podcast, our intentions from day one, and some of our favorite conversations that have shaped the show so far. We also take a trip down memory lane, talking about the music and artists that define the 2010s. It's part nostalgia, part media autopsy, and part love letter to making something you believe in. I caught up with Rose Boubion for a zesty, honest conversation about the show. Rose, welcome to the Zesty podcast.
Thank you, Malik. Actually, that was fun because I've been hearing this intro for months and I'm always hearing so and so, welcome to the Zesty podcast, and now it's me.
I mean, you were in front of the scenes at the episode one when you interviewed me. And so it's interesting, like, to return to it. Like, it's like, wait, like, how does this go again? Like, it's like,
Hmm.
and so that's interesting. I've had people who come up to me and say, they're like, oh, I thought Rose was like a co-host. I'm like, Rose is just always in the ether somewhere. Rose is like the lifeline of this podcast.
Wow, that's really nice to hear. Yeah, I'm always behind the scenes. When we were first envisioning this, we actually the initial plan was like we were going to co-host and have different segments. And eventually I was like, actually, I want to focus on editing more. But after our first episode, actually, when I hosted and interviewed you, I think I enjoyed it. I was just like, I'm not ready to like fully co-host. So I'm really happy to be recording again.
And that's so funny to hear you say that because, like, I also had my own individual reservations about like hosting solo and not knowing if I was truly ready. I knew it was like in me, but I also at the same time was a little hesitant because you don't ever know until you try. Like sometimes you just have to do something. And it wasn't until I want to say that first episode that we recorded, I think it was the very first one, it was actually episode three, which was with Lakin. And then we recorded Miranda Munt after that. After those two episodes, I was like, oh, okay, I got this. I can do this. This is totally fine. I had a lot of fun. Um, but I wonder what that dynamic would look like if if you were to co-host. So we'll have to see. I like maybe in season two, we'll give it a try and see if you can like hop on a few episodes because I definitely think that listeners would love to hear your voice.
Yeah, I would say I'm definitely interested in doing more co-hosting. I will say something that I've noticed, because like I'm familiar with other work that you've done, but I would say I'm really impressed by the way that you've hosted this past season. And I really mean that just because like when I'm editing, like I'll hear your questioning, I'll hear your lines of questioning, and I'm like, oh, that's, like that's really thoughtful. And I think I can really see how your production experience has factored into like how you host. And so I think maybe that's why I felt a little bit like, oh, I'm not ready to do that yet. Like I kind of need to do more behind the scenes work before I even know what I want to say on a mic, basically.
Thank you for that compliment. I think you would be really good at it. Just coming from me and just like watching you work, I think you would have a unique ability to make people feel comfortable, which I think is like what you always want when you're like hosting a show and when you're speaking with a guest. It's more so of a conversation. And for this project in particular, when we talked about it a while ago, I think the vision that I had was like I wanted it to be a little bit different, slightly different from what I do professionally as an arts and culture producer. Of course, I mainly work behind the scenes as a producer, but it's like journalist work. And I love journalism and I think it's important. But I was interested in creating these conversations with guests that felt more so of like, yeah, I can ask a question, but I can interject and we can like have some banter along the way and we can go back and forth so it doesn't have to feel like a question answer format. Sometimes it can be like, oh, let's laugh and kiki and have a good time. And that's okay. And so I was actually trying so hard at the beginning or in those first few interviews, I don't know if you listen back to those. I was trying to figure out that balance and really trying to imagine what a conversation like that would sound like because I was so used to being, behind the scenes and working in production for a live radio show that I had to take myself out of that completely. And then somewhere along the line, I was like, okay, it's okay to embrace that experience and embrace that knowledge that you have of being able to produce a live show and bring it into a podcast format. Because at the end of the day, it's still a show. We call it podcast for some reason, but it's still a show. But like, I was really wanting to make something of my own, something that felt natural and something that felt more aligned with my personality. And so, like, it's interesting to hear from you about like what you heard at the beginning versus like how it ended up.
Yeah, definitely. And also, like I said, I could definitely notice how your production experience informs how you host. But now that makes me curious, like, what else do you think has informed, like, yeah, your hosting style? Like, do you watch talk shows? And I know that there's certain shows we've already discussed that you like, but I'm just curious, like, what do you think has like inspired you so far?
That is a very good question. When we first talked about developing the show, I mentioned all of the radio shows that I grew up on. And so I was listening to The Breakfast Club before it was even like a nationally syndicated show, iHeartRadio app, way, way, way back in the day. I don't want to age myself, put it out there, but I was a high school student at the time when that show became nationally syndicated. So like
Yeah, we're
it went
millennials.
yeah, the millennial like experience. And so I remember those early days, but before that, my parents were listening to this old school R&B station in Milwaukee, and so they would listen to a lot of times it was what was on back then, Tom Joyner morning show. If you cut on the other station, it would be like Steve Harvey. But at the same time, we were a generation YouTube, so there were all these other things that were happening like online. And so you saw people doing the Vines commentary, you saw the YouTube interviews where people were blogging and all of that and creating, whatever shows they were doing online. And fast forward, I mean, to late high school, college, I was so obsessed. I was so obsessed with Complex. When
Mm.
I tell you, like, I was so obsessed with Complex, I thought at some point I was gonna end up there, work there eventually, but I would used to watch a lot of those interviews and behind the scenes of Complex. It was called Life at Complex with Tony Moore. I watched that a lot. Everyday Struggle, of course. But it was like a mix of things, a mix of this internet content, create content creators and radio show, which I think that kind of informed like how I not just how I speak, but like my interests and what I'm interested in. Of course, like my personality though is a little bit different. That was a little bit harder to distinguish what my personality on air would be versus like, my professional personality as like working in journalism and using that mid-Atlantic accent. Like I'm from Milwaukee, so I got to lean into that Milwaukee accent a little bit, but like, I don't really know what that is. Other people have told me what it is, but I don't really hear it myself. People are like, "Oh yeah, you sound like you're from Wisconsin." I'm like, "I can't tell." And then there's other people who are like, "Oh, I'm surprised you're not from New York." And I'm like, "Really?" Because other people say they can hear that Milwaukee in me, and I don't know. I think I've also lost it a little bit, so I don't know. I don't know if it's fully present, but like Um, it's there. It's like I guess it's an amalgamation because you go off to college. I left for college at like 17, stayed in Madison, and then I ended up moving to New York at like 24.
Yeah. I'm like trying to think. Well, okay, first off, I don't know what a Milwaukee or like Wisconsin accent is, but I mean, I know generally what the Midwestern accent kind of sounds like. And I'm trying to think if I've ever heard you drop the Chicago. Like, have I
So
heard you say Chicago before? I don't think so. Like,
so I don't know. So that I know. It's also what might be the difference too. It's like Milwaukee has several different accents, and like Chicago also has several different accents. And I think
mm,
it's also dependent off of ethnicity. So there's like, the Italian Chicago accent, or like the Polish accent, kind of the white Midwestern accent that people hear on television when you like watch The Bear and stuff like that. But then
mhm,
there's also like you go to other shows like The Shy, and that's the only thing I can do closest because there's not really like a lot of Milwaukee representation when it comes to how people speak in terms of like black and brown folks. But yeah, it's like hard to pinpoint like what that accent sounds like.
mhm.
Because I mean, you never know. I guess we just fit in anywhere, honestly. That's probably what it is. We fit in everywhere.
I feel like in general, outside of Chicago, there is not a lot of like Midwesterners of color representation in pop culture.
Which is funny to me because there's
Ex
a ton of them.
Yeah, like except for I feel like sports, like there's always athletes, especially in the Midwest, like
Shout
tons
out
of
to
football
Giannis.
players. Yeah, and then the only other person I could really think of off the top of my head is Prince.
Oh
Um,
yeah. I
I
mean,
don't know where else
I don't
there is.
know if you technically count Lizzo because Lizzo is originally from Houston, I believe. Yeah.
Wait, was Lizzo coming out of Minnesota?
She made her career, I think, in Minnesota, in
Oh,
Minneapolis.
okay.
Which is interesting because she would visit when I was in Madison for school, for college. She would visit all the time. It was like, oh, Lizzo's doing a concert. And at that time, I didn't really know who Lizzo was. Tank and the Bangers was also stopping in Madison. But if we actually had like at the university, like in Madison and like in the city in general, there were some great acts that would just stop through. And at the time, like I had no clue who they were. Shame on me. And then they like blew up. At that time I was paying more attention to Chance the rapper, Kendrick Lamar. Chance came to Madison and performed at my school. The Chain Smokers came.
Wow, that name is a blast from the past.
I actually like drowned in a little yachty mosh pit right before the pandemic in 2019. That
What
was
do you
like
mean
the last.
drowned?
So we have this thing called Freak Fest in Madison, that a lot of students attend, and people hear about it from around the Midwest, and they come to Madison. But like Madison's a big party school. 2019 October, I think it was October 2019. There was a mosh pit. It was pretty crowded with everybody from campus, everybody from like who visited from the like other parts places in the Midwest. And it was you couldn't even move. That's how packed it was. And
Mm.
so imagine people, swaying and doing the mosh pit thing. Like it's so easy to fall. So like a group of people fell. It was like, SpongeBob, fishies. Like everybody just fell. And so I got lost in the mosh pit and I had to find like get up and I find my friends.
Oh my God. That's dangerous. You're lucky you got out.
Yeah. That wasn't even my like last mosh pit because what ended up happening was like when I moved to New York, I started going to Gov Ball. But of course, like, this is what I'm used to. I'm not new to this, I'm true to this. So I went to Gov Ball, saw Little Yachty again,
Oh my God.
got stuck in a mosh pit, and that's when my phone got stolen, and somebody from Mott Haven in the Bronx in their high rise stole my phone because I could track them and I could see its every detail and movement. And they took my phone and they sent it to China.
No, not one of those. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like fun, first off.
It's
I
a
went to
nice place to go.
college. Yeah, I went to college in the Bay Area, so and I went to a smaller school. I didn't go to like a big state school. So like we had some pretty lit school performances, but definitely not like it's just a different vibe. It's the Bay Area. I don't know what else to say. Like the last performance we had before the pandemic and before I graduated, like 1 week before the lockdown actually was Jhené Aiko.
Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Jhené Aiko was very big around that time. And
Yeah.
that was another artist that I was thinking of like, oh, what I was listening to, but she didn't visit
Mhm.
Wisconsin. She didn't come visit us on campus. But Jhené Aiko, who else was I listening to at that time? Kehlani,
I saw
Doja
Kehlani too for that.
Doja Cat, Kyle the Rapper. And those are all like, aren't they
Oh
all
yeah.
those are all California people.
Yeah, Doja's from LA. Kyle is from Oxnard. Fun fact, I know that because my best friend from college is from Oxnard. And Anderson Paak, we also had Anderson Paak, and he's also from Oxnard.
Oh,
So
I did not know that.
Oxnard's like an hour north of LA. It's like a coastal town. Yeah, Oxnard, honestly, been put on the map in the past like 5 years. Or I guess in the past decade, because that was like, that was a Anderson Paak's been big for a while.
Yeah, he's
But
been.
yeah, Anderson Paak we had at my college. I saw Kehlani at a different college, but also in the Bay Area. This, just it's just like a different vibe. Like they're fun, but like I definitely feel like a lot of the shows that the colleges did were like, yeah, just like Bay Area vibe. I don't know what else to say. Like,
So I want to hear your take since you like, I mean, we came up through school around the same time.
Mhm.
Like Kehlani folded, right? Everybody's like, "Oh my God, this is big break." She's topping on the Billboard charts. And I'm just like, Kehlani's been around for like years. Like I
She's
remember listening to her on SoundCloud.
Yeah, she was a huge like early SoundCloud, like R&B success story, I feel like. She was one of the really big R&B artists that came out of SoundCloud back then though. That was like
Yeah.
2014. I feel like for me, I got into her when she was, oh my God, just thinking of this album cover, like that's also a blast to the past. It's the You Should Be Here. I think it's a mixtape actually.
Oh yeah,
You
that
Should Be
you
Here
should be here.
mixtape, and it's so Bay Area. She's
I
sitting
fuck
on
with you
like
because you loyal,
yeah.
loyal.
She's sitting on like the hill. I want to say it's Twin Peaks, or it could be like in the East Bay. If you're not familiar with the Bay Area, Twin Peaks are like it's like a giant viewpoint in the middle of San Francisco, the city, and it's like the highest point, or it's one of the highest points. And then so she's either sitting up there or she's sitting in the East Bay, which is like across the bay from San Francisco. Maybe in the Oakland Hills, because Kehlani's from Oakland. So she's somewhere like up in some hill. And then like the rest of the picture is like fog and like the Bay Area, and you can see like the Golden Gate Bridge.
You
But
know,
yeah,
that's
and
so
like it's
funny
all
because I
like
wouldn't have put that together. But you
it's
just,
all yeah, it's such
yeah,
a Bay Area vibe. Like it really is like that, 2014, 2015, which is when I was in college. And what else? It was
same.
also like a Pixar like type, like I don't even know. It's like a YouTube drawing. Like you remember when everyone had these like
Oh yeah.
like
I mean, look at the podcast cover of the
yeah,
Zesty podcast. Like,
yeah, exactly.
obviously, you come from that era.
Yeah, it was like an iPad
Yeah.
drawing, and this was her like mixtape cover, but I fucking love it. Like, I feel like there's also like really small details. Like, I swear she's wearing Vans. Like, but that's just me being
Yeah.
Californian, being like, you gotta have the Vans.
I love the specificity. Bring it back. I remember
It's
she did.
very West Coast.
It's funny because I think where it met the Midwest for me was that I would already been listening to her on SoundCloud, but she did a collaboration, a feature with Chance the Rapper.
Hmm.
Um, and it was The Way.
I love that
Um,
song.
and Chance is this big, Chicago person, and he's a very big Chicago person. And I think at that time, like pretty much all of the Midwest was listening to him. So when I came to school, people were like, "Did you listen to 10 Days?" And then, you were listening to Acid Rap. You were listening to all of Chance. Chance was just so big, you could not escape him. It was like, even though he was a Chicago kid, people in Milwaukee love Chance. I have friends in college who are from Detroit who love Chance from like Minneapolis. It was just like it felt like a very Midwest thing, and or maybe I'm imagining that in my head, but I don't know how big. Chance was in other regions, but like in our bubble of like Madison and school, that's who we were listening to. And so like when she collaborated with Chance, we were all like, "Oh, did you see Kehlani got a song with Chance?" It was a huge deal.
It was. It definitely was. Also, yeah, I mean, Chance the Rapper probably wasn't as big in California at the time as he was like in the Midwest, but he was definitely big. Like that's like a whole that really is like a whole era like in itself is like Chance the Rapper, Kehlani, who else was really big at this? I mean, Janae was also coming up at that time or
Janae,
like hitting the mainstream. I don't know about coming up because she also had multiple mixtapes out, I think by then. Oh,
Eternal
I
Sunshine,
love that
always gonna
era.
be my favorite. One of my favorite songs. I love me some Jhené Aiko. I can't wait to grow old and go to Jhené Aiko concerts and take my little edibles and just like vibe.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, you just go to hear her whispers. Of course, yes, yes, that's
Yeah.
what I love. That's
No,
what
literally.
I
Like
love.
I'm
Okay.
gonna be in a rocking chair when I'm 80, knitting and crocheting to Janae Aiko. Like I'm serious.
You know what I keep thinking of? You keep mentioning it. We keep talking about all these artists, but Doja Cat was blue back then.
Okay, Doja Cat had that one early mixtape or EP
Yeah.
where she had like a lotus, like she was like sitting in a lotus, like it was very like, the era of like Eastern inspired, like, we could say,
Maybe some
you
problematic
know,
things, but like,
like problematic, but like that's what she was doing. And she had like, yeah, like wasn't she wearing like purple hair or something? I
yeah,
I originally,
she was like a blue genie type figure,
yeah,
and it was the So High video. It was like, "You
yes,
get me
this
so
so
high."
high.
I listened to that so much between like 2015 and 2016. It
Yeah.
was like, and because it's college, we were all
We
actually
were in
high.
college.
We were high.
Yeah. No, I know Doja Cat from that song and like that album. So when she came out with Moo and then she started like I wouldn't say she started rapping, but like I felt like she was definitely switching up her subgenre a little bit.
Yeah.
But everyone was like, "Oh, Moo,"
She was
which is
always a rapper, but it was like a lo-fi rapper.
yeah. And
Yeah.
people were like, "Oh, Moo, it's like genius meme pop," you know? And I'm like,
And she was just
yeah,
like
but she's like a
fucking
singer
around.
too. Like she was doing
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do you mean? She's not new. Like this is like a different thing, I guess, that she's doing, but she's been around. Like,
I was telling people were like, "Oh my God, who's this artist?" They were like joking about her. They're like, they thought she was just like, I mean, this was pre like TikTok blow up because TikTok didn't really blow
mm,
up. Like TikTok was still Musically at this time.
yeah. She was
We
on
were,
Tumblr. She
she
was on
was,
Tumblr
yeah,
first. And I
she,
followed her and she was just like a random account that I followed. Like she was just a user, like
yeah. I remember that. It was so funny. Yeah. I mean, we're the generation that really lives two lives. We live one online and we live one out in the world. And there's a middle ground in between that affects one informs the other. However, like I think with the show, I think it's really important that we explore that and see what that means for us. I don't think there are a lot of like platforms and shows that are really talking about it in that way. That feels in tune with like how we're actually thinking, you know. That's why when you suggest like topics like sustainability and fashion with Lakin, and we can chat with Lakin about like, well, yeah, we want to be more sustainable, but also we grew up on like Forever 21 and we were just surrounded by H&Ms and all this stuff. Like it feels more real because that's just who we are. That's a part of our experience. We're always going to face that conflict of like convenience and versus like what's shoved in our faces versus like the world that we actually want to live in and the limitations that we face due to economic pressures. Those are always going to be around. And so like I think it's interesting we can talk to guests about that, whether it be something practical or like our interests, like arts, how to make it. People who want to become actors or work in theater or make comic books or like the television shows we watch and what they represent. And so I'm really excited to have those conversations, if I'm being honest. I want to hear the next hot take.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. I think just trying to get to the core of these conversations and like really unwrap or unpack, I think that's a better word. Just what, what types of tension are we seeing within ourselves like this generation are maybe millennial, maybe Gen Z, maybe zillennial.
Or both.
Both, right?
Both.
And seeing what like inspires us and like what makes us not to be cheesy, but like get up every day or like what types of questions are running through our minds that make us do anything at all, right? I think that's I'm looking forward definitely to the next season and continuing to grow with the Zesty podcast.
Same. I'm also looking to those like it sounds what you're describing is though you're talking about those deeper conversations of things that we've been contemplating, like what is the economy going to look like for us? Like I came across uh a Substack the other day that I actually wanted to share with you. I could not find this person's information. I think their name is Ellie, but they were talking about is Japan sort of like a model for what like capitalism in the US is becoming? Are we experiencing this like downward trajectory where there's like a sort of a lack of inspiration due to capitalism where, you
Hmm.
know, our we're still functioning as consumers, but it's not so much quality focused. And I wonder how long that wave will last. And so that was an interesting like way to look at it. I like looking at things like that. I like looking at other societies and other cultures and how they deal with some of the similar problems that we're facing here in our lives and sort of connecting the dots. I also like the idea of, talking about the niche things that are nostalgic to us and seeing what they've become. Like
Hmm.
today, if they've like faded away, I think there's room for a lot of dialogue that we don't get to hear anywhere else, and I'm excited to speaking to people about that.
Yeah,
So I'm hoping there are content creators who will listen to this and will
definitely.
throw their hat and will throw their
Hmm.
name in the ring and be like, hey, I want to come in and speak to that because I want to hear the next hot take. And
Hmm. And get zesty with it
exactly.
forever and have a little more wait, get a little more life. Is that what we're
Yes.
saying?
Yeah, we're hoping we need a little more life,
We
okay?
need a little more life. That's the one.
We're not all about the gloom and doom. Okay. We're
Mm-mm.
not all about the gloom and doom. We keep it zesty, we keep the hot takes, but also at the same time, we want to bring a little bit more life. And it's about encouragement and inspiring each other. But I mean, the only way that we're gonna kind of build the world that we want to create and the community we want to create is one conversation at a time.
The only way out is through, unfortunately.
My mind as you're
Yep.
saying, I'm like,
We
things are
got to
gonna
keep going
get
through it.
way worse. But
Oh
like,
no.
we'll be here for it and hopefully we'll see what happens on the other
Yeah, hopefully we'll glean some positivity, some zest, some more life out of these conversations.
end. So what's next for the pod? I mean, I'm gonna let you tell it because we got a lot of things happening and a lot of things that we're talking about. Some things unconfirmed and some things confirmed, but what do you think is worth telling people now?
We're looking forward to a schedule change for next season. Season two is going to be on a monthly basis. However, in between each episode, we're going to be doing something. We don't have it 100% confirmed, but I'm going to be doing something. Lily's going to be doing something. Um, that sounds really vague. I don't know if I should like say something that is not 100% planned yet, but I know I'm definitely gonna write in between episodes, so we're always gonna have something fresh, but we just won't be doing weekly episodes next season.
And there
No,
may be
I'm really
bonus
looking,
episodes.
yeah, there could be bonus episodes. I'm really looking forward to this. I just feel like we'll be able to get a little bit more deep into each episode with this format.
I'm excited for it.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. And also just kind of getting to like try new things, like getting back into writing for me. I'm looking forward to that.
Me
So
too.
yeah, like I'm excited for this.
I'm looking for Rose's ramblings, hot takes.
Yep, Rose's
Um,
Ramblings every most likely third Thursday of the month. So I'll be writing.
and I'll just be sharing whatever like comes to my mind, and you'll
Which
probably
which
see a
there's a
few videos
lot.
from me.
Which there's a lot on your mind.
I'm a very random person. My brain functions like a Wikipedia link page. You just click one thing or the other. I used to say that, but that was before TikTok. I think my brain functions the way TikTok works.
Mm,
So it's like, you know how you go to a TikTok video and then there's like a little like
the
click this
comment.
search, you
Yeah.
know. That's how my brain functions.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you heard this thing, you want to know more about this other thing, and then you go down a rabbit hole.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to see what you come up with. And I know you want to get more creative with it, so I'm excited for that as well.
We shall see. Well, thank you so much, Rose, for having this conversation with me. I know we definitely went over time.
We went over
Um,
time. Oops. It's our yap sesh.
oops.
This is what our weekly meeting sounds like.
It is. I mean, this is pretty similar to our weekly meeting, as like a lot of people are getting a preview of how we just like converse, generally speaking. I tend to be the one that leads us astray. And then Rose like
And
brings us back to like reality. And I was like, yeah, we should probably wrap it up. But I think there are some good things that come out of it.
I agree. I agree. And honestly, the wrapping it up is only because, there are other things to do. I
There's
trust
lives
me,
to live.
I wouldn't wrap it up if, like, for example, I wasn't hungry. Like that's not I'm not wrapping it up because I want to. I'm wrapping it up because I didn't eat yet. Like
I also have not eaten.